Stewardship with SNB. Stewardship with SNB.
Good afternoon, everyone, and once again, welcome to the studios of Rstv. This is Stewardship with SNB, and I am Solomon Nelson Braid. As have been advertising earlier on, the head communications high prep, Dr. Onyolare Mbakwigo, is live here in the studio. High prep is the acronym for Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project. Of course, you know why it was set up. It was primarily to restore the natural environment through remediation, and of course to restore livelihood. You're aware that the oil pollution there has actually damaged, destroyed the livelihood, the source of livelihood of the people. Hence the establishment of high prep to restore the people's livelihood. And last but not the least, to provide clean water for the Ogoni people. Of course, when there is pollution, of course the water and all that has to do with it will be polluted. And high prep is also there to provide water for the people. So with me live in the studio is Dr. Onolare Mbakwigo, is head communication high prep. Dr. Wigo, welcome to our program.
Thank you very much for having me.
So much talk about you in the studio. You've been absent, and I have to let my viewer know that you had a delayed flight, but you're here now.
Yeah, I'm here. Good to be here.
All right. So in what ways have you been able to achieve these objectives to restore livelihood and also to provide drinkable water to the people of Ogoni land, and not to leave out, to restore the natural environment through remediation? In what ways have you been able to achieve these objectives?
Yeah, thank you very much. And good afternoon, listeners. My sincere apologies for coming pretty late. It is was beyond my reasons, beyond my control. Yeah, high prep for over 9 years has been up and about. And so just like you mentioned, our mandates are clear to remediate impacted communities and of course restore the livelihood of the people of Ogoni whose sources of income and livelihood have been impacted by hydrocarbon pollutions and all of that. And so in implementing the key recommendations of the United Nations Environment Programme report on Ogoni, High Prep had carried out a number of projects, in thematic areas. So when you talk about the land remediation, we had carried out 50, we've cleaned up 50 lots in our phase 1 of our cleanup projects. 48 of those lots have been certified by the National Oil Spills Response and Detection Agency, as having been clean, and 2 of those other of the 50 have been reclassified. At the moment, we are on 39 cleanup sites in what we call our medium risk sites. Okay. And by the end of this year, hopefully by the first quarter of next year, we would start characterization for what we call the complex sites. That's in the land remediation. Now, as we speak to you, our shoreline cleanup, again, when you consider the fact that our shoreline areas were adversely affected and there's a need to actually restore ecosystem and biodiversity, High Prep is actually carrying out cleanup of the shoreline area in Ogoni. 34 of those projects are actually going on. Over 56%, successes recorded in remediating shoreline areas. And then when you talk about the mangrove restoration, which is one of the most ambitious, because we are restoring over 4,000 hectares of lost mangrove area, and in the phase 1, 560 of those hectares have been restored so far, having planted 1.4 million mangrove seedlings. And then we did not just go into, because I will come to the fact that every aspect of High Prep's project also has the livelihood component of it. It's very important to see that. But let me just do a panoramic, summary of what we have done so far. And that's for the mangrove restoration. As we talk to you, in the provision of potable water, which is one of the cardinal, recommendations of the United Nations Environment Programme report, 40 communities and counting have access to potable drinking water. When you talk about livelihood, courtesy of the hydrocarbon pollution reduction project. Meanwhile, it's also important to state that the NEP report had recommended that water be provided to all the impacted communities. But HYPREP understands that water is a fundamental human right. And so now every community in Ogoni will have access to potable water beyond all of those communities that UNEP had identified that are actually impacted. You know, so when you talk about livelihood, over 5,000 youths and women of Ogoni have been trained in 20 skill areas. The evidence is there, and of course provided starter packs as well. But now we are going beyond the basic skills to providing our people, you know, high demand skills, because we understand that we need to continue to give them a fairly, you know, good head start, you know, a fair good head start, and so they can compete favorably across disciplines and across industries. And so with that, we had carried out creative arts training for 100 of our people, and then we are looking forward to where that industry thrives in Ogoni, because the Ogoni story has not been told as much as we would have told it. So much to talk about the Ogoni story. And so by when we have our people who will now tell these stories, of course the world will better appreciate and understand how it's been with us, how we've been very resilient, and what more we are doing actually to get out of the situations we have been. And then in seafaring too, we have trained another 100. Our people are not so much in that industry.
Back to how much you have restored the people's livelihood and all of that. But in the meantime, let me ask you, because transparency and accountability are key in managing public funds. From our records, at inception, Shell provided about $3 billion to fund IPREP, which is about an equivalent of about 5 trillion naira or so. Would you say that these things you have mentioned are the only things you have done with that money?
Okay, so the UNEP report had recommended an initial 1 billion, not 3 billion.
Oh, I see.
An initial 1 billion USD. And so all of these projects, as I speak to you, well over 120 projects have been executed by the hydrocarbon pollution project. The Ogoni Specialist Hospital, 100-bed Ogoni Specialist Hospital, of course, is over 86%. It is there if you're headed towards.
So are these things you're talking about visible for people to see?
You know, it is important to equally echo the fact that neither are we some political, you know, machine, I mean, organ that will drive some form of propaganda or campaign. All of these projects are visible. As I speak to you, I have told you that we've cleaned up 50 lots in our phase 1 project. As I told you, 39 contracts for our medium bridge sites are actually going on. As I speak to you, the shoreline contractors are also going on. Mangrove, 1.4 million mangrove trees have been planted. The Center of Excellence, which is, you know, it will serve as a repository of all the quantum of data we've gathered as a project, is there in Wiakara. By the Center of Excellence is a transmission substation for the Ogoni Power Project, which is a 132 kV project that will connect Ogoni to the national grid. It is there in Wiakara just by the Center of Excellence. As I speak to you, there is the transmission substation. You know, contracts, they follow through, and very strictly too, the procurement prerequisites and conditions as enabled and of course as prescribed rather by the Procurement Act of 2010. Our contracts, of course, are advertised. People bid for our contracts. There is a bid opening process, you know, and all of that, and it is followed through. And then, mind you, we do not just like I told you, we don't act on our own just in Port Harcourt here. We work with the Bureau of Public Procurement and of course every relevant agencies to ensure that our activities are in compliance with extant laws.
So the Federal Ministry of Environment oversees HYPREP.
Clearly.
All right. So what's the relationship between it and the HYPREP coordinator?
Okay, so this is how the HYPREP structure works. You have the Ogoni Trust Fund, which is headed by the Right Honorable Emmanuel Deya, just really
the Kagote chairman.
Yes, the Kagote chairman. He was a member of the BOT, and then they house the funds for the project. And then you have the governing council of the project that is headed by the Honorable Minister of Environment and chairman of the governing council, Balarabe Abbas Lawal. And then you have the project coordination office. So for instance, the relationship is the BOT funds the project, but that's the governing council, of course.
So the reason why we're asking, sorry to interject, the reason we're asking this question is whether or not your bodies have a say in the membership of HYPREP, because it has to do with them.
Okay, so very, very cardinal point you're raising now. It's equally important to state that the HYPREP project is a product of the struggles, sacrifices and survival, resilience of the Ogoni people. But in the wisdom of the federal government, the cleanup is starting from Ogoni, but the government is also aware that there are equally other impacted areas in Nigeria, and that is why the HYPREP project is a national project. However, it is starting from Ogoni. However, the funding for it at the moment is for the Ogoni cleanup project. But we expect that over time, and that is why we're very conscious of the fact that we need to provide the necessary framework, the necessary template for the cleanup of other parts of Nigeria Delta. But coming to your question, the HYPREP project is a people-centered project. And just like the Honorable Minister of Environment had directed, that we are not planning for the people, we plan with the people. Even if we are implementing the recommendations of UNEP. The point is that I have told you we have gone way and above even the clear, black and white stated recommendations of UNEP. For instance, we are providing scholarship for 500 Ogoni postgraduate students. It is nowhere in the UNEP report. Yeah, just like I mentioned to you, water was supposed to be provided for all the impacted communities as mentioned in the UNEP report. We are providing water to all communities in Ogoni. There is nowhere in the UNEP report that the Ogoni power project should be constructed. But right now, we understand the intrinsic interconnectivity between the livelihood of the people, the sustainability of all these water projects, the center of excellence and all the equipment and all of that, and of course, the socioeconomic impact of that project and how much it will rub off on the lives of the people, and that is why HYPREP has gone ahead to construct the Ogoni Power project. The public health intervention, there is no way.
So the federal government appoints membership of the HYPREP. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the federal government appoints membership, but then there are also representatives from Ogoni on the governing council, of the host committee representatives, and of course
recommended by who?
No, the federal government appoints them. Kagote is on the board of trustees, and then you're also committee representatives in the governing council as well. But what I'm saying essentially beyond all of these structural appointments is the fact that the project is designed to directly benefit the people. At every point in time, we have what we call our stakeholder engagement meetings across stakeholders. Every month, the project coordinator, every quarter, the project coordinator meets with Ogoni youths, and it is in those platforms he shares the project plans, the look ahead, and of course gets very useful and invaluable inputs from them. So overall, the project is working very closely. Meanwhile, there is what we call the Central Representative Advisory Committee, which is one of the structures of the project. And there's the Zonal Representative Committee. So the CRAC is comprised of representatives from the 4 LGs and most of as well. And then the Zonal Representative Committee is comprised of 3 representatives from the 4 LGs. So at every point in time, they are in the know of the project activities. They bring useful feedbacks from the community to the project, because overall the end point, and if we say we will succeed or would have succeeded in the cleanup project, it is how much we have restored the land, it is how much our people's livelihoods, and well-being overall have been impacted. So that's how we measure our success as a project.
Let's talk about the livelihood of the people per se. What's their target population? What's the target population and demographics? I'm talking about how many families are now back on their feet economically, courtesy of HYPREP.
Okay, so it's pretty difficult to give specific statistics, but we can speak to you that over 7,000 because
you should be able to play with population.
No, that's what I'm saying.
You can plan.
The project, of course, is targeted to benefit all Ogoni communities. As I speak to you, the project has provided direct employment alone for over 7,000 Ogoni people. Because on our rehabilitation sites, our community youths who have been trained in basic rehabilitation skills, they are working there, 30 of them on each of the lots. On our shoreline project, we have our young people who are working. Meanwhile, before we started our shoreline project, just like we were set to start the next round of shoreline project, HYPREP had trained over 2,500 Ogoni youths in international maritime organization levels 1 and 2. It's a major certification to qualify you to work on our shoreline. Our people have received this level of training. Our mangrove project, 90 community workers were trained, and as I speak to you, those 90 people have trained another 350 who have planted over 5 million mangrove seedlings. At the Center of Excellence, most of those people who work there are Ogoni people. Same for a number of our other projects. So That is just the direct impact. I'm not talking about the training, the skill acquisition for 5,000. And of course, we are beginning to get testimonies of how people are earning a living from these trainings we're having. Of course, every now and then we'll get letters from companies recommending, asking that we recommend those whom we've trained for employment opportunities. So we are opening up Ogoni land for massive opportunities, and of course, just like I said again, giving them a fairly good head start to compete favorably across industries.
So how successful has the remediation process been? Remediation takes time. So in remediating the environment, how successful has it been, and to what extent have you gone?
Okay, just like I mentioned, the cleanup is expected to take between 25 to 30 years, but then we are on course. Just like I mentioned to you, 48 of those remediation lots have been certified by the National Oil Spills Detection and Response Agency. As I speak to you, biodiversity, which for us is our greatest joy, is returning following our mangrove operation in the creeks of Ogoni. The periwinkle that used to be there, the oyster and all of those seafood that used to be there, and that once had gone extinct are now returning. Our people can now go back and pick bags full of periwinkles, even if we are equally worried that because restoration is coming, we need to also be circumspect in our harvesting, and then we're also equally talking with community
activities, going in your activities as you carry them out on a daily or weekly basis.
Okay, so perception is relative, and what may form your perception may actually not will be what will form my perception. But overall, the point is, what is the mandate of HiPrep? First, outside your own expectation, which may not be within the mandate of the project, what is the mandate of HiPrep? To clean, remediate impacted communities, and restore the lives of people. Are we doing this? Yes, we are doing this. Are we providing jobs? Yes, we're providing jobs. Are we construction center of excellence, and of course the integrated contamination soil management center?
Are the people receptive of your activities?
It is.
In other words, that's what I'm asking.
They are highly receptive, but then, just like we have had issues with managing perception generally, we have remained focused in doing what we ought to do, and that was why I started by saying, just opposing your perception against the actual delivery of the mandate of HiPrep. Are we carrying out our mandate? And how much, just like you're saying, how much are these activities of HiPrep impacting people? And I'm telling you for free that most of our people, an aggregate mass of our people, are being impacted across lines, both women, both youth, children, across line. In December, we will be carrying out the medical outreach program. And last year, over 7,000 persons showed up. Free medical surgeries, hernia, hernia, fibroid, all of those medical cases, surgeries were carried out free of charge
by HiPrep.
So our people are largely being impacted positively by this project. And so if there are pockets of perceptions, we need to weigh those perceptions against what exactly is their expectation.
All right, some contractors complain about sabotage by the people, going land. When you give them contract, some other persons go behind and do something sinister. But before you answer that question, let's take a look at this video. Control room, please kindly play that video. Let's our guests see so that we can talk extensively about it.
Stewardship with SNB. Stewardship with SNB. Stewardship with SNB. Stewardship with SNB.
All right, if you have just joined us, the program is Stewardship with SNB. Follow us on our GoTV, channel 142 channel, and of course on Facebook and YouTube at Rstv Online. And then we are also here in the studio. My guest hasn't changed. Dr. Enyolari Mba Wigo is the head communications HYPREP. HYPREP is the acronym of Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project. Dr. Wigo, are the IOCs also funding HYPREP? What is their role in lifting the people from poverty to riches? IOCs.
Okay.
Are you partnering with them?
Okay, so the HYPREP project, like I told you, is being funded by Renaissance, former Shell, and the IOCs. They call them the JV partners, of course the federal government. So we are working closely because there has to be value for money, and then we are working closely to ensure that the HYPREP projects, all its thematic areas, are indeed benefiting us. So we're working very closely, and beyond the IOCs is the fact that HYPREP is leveraging SDG 17, which is partnership for development. We are going beyond just the IOCs to reaching international partners. The project over time had been almost a pot of call for ambassadors and foreign partners and all of that. Just last week, before this unfortunate incident, we had held a colloquium, that had in attendance the Vice Chancellor of the University, the Vice Chancellor of the Federal University of Environment and Technology, and of course other professors, and of course the keynote speaker, a very renowned environmentalist. I can't get his name now. Environmentalist.
Okay, at the colloquium.
Yes, at the colloquium, and a number of other very top dignitaries that came. That colloquium is a follow-up of the recommendation of the Technical Planning Committee for the Center of Excellence, because the Center of Excellence is not just a structure, it is the operationalization of it, and that's the fact that we were calling the Center of Excellence, and given the fact that HYPREP had covered so much ground, and of course it's one of the leading remediation agencies of governments across the world, given the large scale of remediation work we're carrying out, it is important we bequeath, if you like, knowledge legacy and knowledge product, and just like I told you, provide the needed framework that will lead the way coordination office to the governing council, and of course the governing council requesting the trust fund to release funds that are project specific, funds that are project specific. So we are not requesting for funds for things outside the Center of Excellence, for instance, for the cottage hospital or for the shoreline project or for the land rehabilitation project. All of these are tied to specific projects, and they are channeled directly that way too.
Okay, what is the total project value of the water tank that collapsed? And do you intend to rebuild after the investigations are made public?
Okay, I cannot at the moment give in specific the project value of the water tank. But what I can say for free is the fact that we have taken very proactive steps to addressing these very unfortunate incidents. We had met with the community and had expressed our deep regrets, on this unfortunate incident, and we told them that we are making frantic efforts to ensure that this water tank is restored, because that is the most affected. Every other structure is standing. That this water stand is restored as quickly or as soon as possible.
In your opinion, this is a personal question. In your opinion, what do you think really caused the collapse of that water tank, and why?
Well,
was it called Guara is meant for about 14 communities.
4 communities.
Is it 4?
4.
Okay, so how many communities so far have been given drinkable water? Okay,
I had mentioned that 40 communities now have
40.
access. 40 communities, okay. But for this unfortunate incident, it would have been 45. So Guara and 4 other communities. So that would have been 45 communities that now have access to potable water.
So in the interim, what measures are you putting in place to quickly provide water for Guara community and of course the adjoining communities as a result of the collapse of the water tank? Okay, so
we've appealed to them to be patient with us while we expect that the technical committee quickly rounds off their investigation and come up with a finding. But while that is the case, we are actually in talks with the contractor to ensure that water is restored to Guara community as quickly as possible. They need it. It's been a long time coming, and then we cannot afford to keep them much longer than to actually remedy the situation and have them get access to potable water.
So when such occurrences happen, whether natural or unnatural, sometimes it makes the people to lose confidence in the organization that may have provided the water, the water project. What assurances is HYPREP giving to the people?
Overall, it is a lesson learned in this instance, and whatever is the outcome and the recommendations of the Technical Planning Committee, the technical committee for this incident, you can be sure that HYPREP will implement them to the letter.
So what is the target date of completion of the cleanup exercise, as you know?
It's just like I told you, we've rounded up the phase 1 of it.
And what percentage have you already completed?
No, the phase 1 of the cleanup, which is the 50 lots, that has been closed up, because our projects are in phases, like the cleanup projects are in phases, or they are categorized. So we've just finished the simple reach sites. We're on the medium reach sites, and then hopefully that could be rounded off by next year. But very importantly is the complex sites that will commence following the characterization of those sites by next year. Now, the target is to get water to more Ogoni communities. Now we've done 45, but for this incident, our overall target for this year was to do 65 to provide water to 65 communities. The shoreline project, as we speak to you, we are moving to the phase 2 of the shoreline project. We have just finished the phase 1 of the mangrove restoration project, planting 1.5 million mangrove seedlings. And what that means is that we are contributing significantly to climate change mitigation and adaptation, even restoring the livelihood of the people and the ecosystem. So all of these things are going on simultaneously. As I speak to you, the Center of Excellence is at 92% complete. The Ogoni Special Hospital is at over 86.6% complete. But meanwhile, it is also important to mention to you that HYPREP is going to carry out the human biomonitoring study of Ogoni. Recall that the NEP report had hinted of a possible link between health patterns of the people and exposure to hydrocarbon. So what that 3-year biomonitoring study will do is to eventually establish if indeed there is a link, and it is the first of its kind. If indeed there is a link between the health patterns, exposure to hydrocarbon and related ailments, and that is why even the Ogoni Specialist Hospital has one of the departments of that hospital is the oncology department that will address cancer-related issues, and all of that. So we are being proactive. We are carrying out the cleanup project simultaneously. Every aspect of the cleanup project, every recommendations of UNEP, every one of these are being carried out. So we are providing water, we are building center of excellence, we are intervening in public health, and all of that. We are doing what is called the human capital development, which is a scholarship program. But very importantly is the fact that we've been able to drive all of this towards peace building. And so you can see the relative peace in Ogoni land. It is because people are engaged. It's because there are activities, economic activities that are going on. Now look at the magic the Ogoni Power Project will do when it is completed. The socioeconomic revamping of the area, the fact that small businesses will thrive, the fact that it will open up even the region to investors and development. This is the vision of the cleanup project. If you call it a special purpose vehicle for the overall development of Ogoni.
All right, Dr. Wigo, we're winding on. Time is not on our side. Who should we hold responsible if the cleanup exercise fails to meet the purpose for which it was established? The IOCs, the Ogoni people, HYPREP, federal government, and why?
Okay, so we first, HYPREP has a mandate. So we are first responsible whether or not this cleanup process succeeds. But I can tell you for free that as I speak to you, the cleanup process or project is in safe hands. Is in the safe hands of the Honorable Minister of Environment, who has shown so much passion to ensuring that this project succeeds. As I speak to you, HYPREP is implementing priority 3, deliverable 3 of the federal government, which is the federal government's intent to ensure that this project is accelerated. And the Honorable Minister is on the project coordinator, Professor Nene, to ensuring that this project gets its needed priority. But very importantly is the capacity of the project coordinator of HYPREP, Professor Nene, who, before becoming the project coordinator, is a civil society person. He is a community-based man who understands the very far-reaching implication of not having this project succeed. But then, the success of this project, we can sit here to say that it is entirely in the hands of HYPREP. And that is why at every point in time, we call for community collaboration. We call for stakeholder collaboration. We call for support. So for all of these projects we have in our communities, we expect community leaders. We expect all community structures to protect. So as I speak to you, the success of this project is even in your hands, of how you even report the project, of through what angles and narratives you draw about the cleanup. Because in the end, sir, the cleaning of the community creates that congenial atmosphere. There could be pockets of issues, but when we keep talking to ourselves,